Tonight at 6, the Prime Minister has insisted she will fight on with her Brexit plan despite a day of turmoil and drama in Westminster. In Downing Street tonight, Theresa May has just held a news conference where she said she was trying to get the best deal for Britain.
Yes, difficult and sometimes uncomfortable decisions have had to be made. I understand fully that there are some who are unhappy with those compromises. But this deal delivers what people voted for, and it is in the national interest.
Today began with a raft of resignations, including the Brexit Secretary himself, Dominic Raab, followed shortly by fellow Cabinet Minister Esther McVey.
The worst possible outcome when you balance the risks is to give in to the EU's blackmail and accept a deal bad for the economy and devastating the trust in our democracy.
The leading Brexiteer, Jacob Rees-Mogg, submits a letter of no confidence in the Prime Minister and says he expects there'll be a vote on her future.
What we have voted for should be implemented, and the Prime Minister is not doing that, and that is why I have no confidence.
This morning, the Prime Minister took question after question as she defended her draft deal in a marathon 3-hour session amid criticism from all sides.
The government, Mr. Speaker, is in chaos. Their deal risks leaving the country in an indefinite halfway house without a real say.
And in sport, the second test between England and Sri Lanka is finally poised after day 2 in Kandy. England needed a brilliant run out from Ben Stokes to help them bowl out Sri Lanka.
Good evening from Downing Street on what has been the most dramatic of days as the Prime Minister fights for her future. In the last few moments, Theresa May has vowed to fight on for her draft Brexit agreement, insisting it delivers what people voted for and is in the national interest. Today began with a raft of resignations of 4 ministers in total, 2 cabinet ministers among them, the Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab, followed within the hour by the Work and Pensions Secretary Esther McVey. Theresa May then spent 3 hours on her feet in the Commons defending her draft Brexit withdrawal agreement with the EU amid criticism from MPs on all sides. And then more drama outside as the leading Eurosceptic MP, Jacob Rees-Mogg, announced he was submitting a letter of no confidence in the Prime Minister's leadership, saying her Brexit deal had turned out to be worse than anticipated. Our political editor, Laura Kuhnsberg, reports now on today's turmoil in Westminster.
No deal, none of this withdrawal agreement, and all of the problems that could bring.
Damien Grammaticus in Brussels, thank you. Certainly an awful lot of questions unanswered tonight. We'll be back later on in the programme, but right now it's time to go back to Ben in the studio.
Sophie, thank you very much. In the United States, the director of the US Emergency Agency says that Paradise, the town in California ravaged by wildfire, will take years to rebuild. He described the destruction there as one of the worst disasters he had ever seen. So far, 56 people have been found dead and 130 more are still missing. Our correspondent, Dan Johnson, sent us this report. OK, let's take you straight back to Downing Street now. And Sophie.
Ben, thank you. Well, the 29th of March 2019 is the day the UK is due to leave the European Union. We've heard a lot from politicians about backstops, customs unions and transition periods. But what do the people who voted in that referendum 2.5 years ago think about where we are now? Our correspondent Danny Savage has spent the day in Newcastle finding out. Last word now from our political editor Laura Kuhnsberg, and events have moved very quickly today. How perilous is the position of the Prime Minister tonight?
Well, Sophie, it reminds me of the early hours of the morning after the general election. Only last year so much has happened since then, when it genuinely was not clear if the Prime Minister would be able to keep her place here in 10 Downing Street. Now then, her colleagues did rally round. She was able to stay on. Enough senior figures in the Conservative Party thought, look, yes, actually, she's still our best option. With all the divisions of Brexit, she's the only person in the middle who might be, has no other option.
Our political editor, Laura Kuhnsberg, thank you. Let's have a look at the weather now. Chris Fawkes joins us.
Hi Sophie, well it's been another which is struggling to reach highs of around 6 degrees. That's how the weather's looking. We'll now rejoin Sophie, who's there for us at Downing Street.
Chris, thank you. Well, that's all from us here in Downing Street for now. There is, of course, continuing coverage throughout the evening on BBC News, and Hugh Edwards will be here at 10 with all the latest. But now on BBC One, we join the BBC's news teams where you are. Goodbye.